Osu's heart sank momentarily at the mention of sacrifice, but she was ready to fight for her son, ready to challenge the very foundation of the beliefs that had ensnared them for so long. "What must I do?" she asked, her determination unwavering. "Only by confronting the spirit that had fathered your children can you hope to alter your son's fate," Ezenmo replied, his gaze steady. "You must seek the truth of your own past and lay bare the ties that bind you." In those words, a new journey began for Osu. The one filled with uncertainty, yet illuminated by the fierce love she held for her son. She would seek the truth, confront the spirit, and unearth the secrets of her family's past to ensure a future for Osuwa, one where he could live free from the shackles of tradition. The night before the Ekemekets arrived, a heavy blanket of darkness enveloped Oredo, punctuated only by the distant strains of fireflies and the soft rustle of leaves. While Osu gathered her daughters, Adosu and Enosu, in the mother's home, the air thick with anticipation and dread. "Prepare yourselves," Osu instructed, her voice steady but tinged with sorrow. "Tonight, I will confront the spirit that has haunted our family, and I fear it may cost me dearly." Adosu and Enosu looked anxious, their hearts heavy with the weight of their mother's words. "Mother, are you certain about this?" Enosu asked, concern imprinted on her face. "The penalty for seeing the spirit is death. We cannot lose you too." Osu nodded, a determined glint in her eyes. "I have no choice. I will not allow Osuwa to be sacrificed without a fight. If the spirit has caused us so much pain, then it is time to confront it and reclaim our destiny." As the night deepened, Osu donned her ceremonial garment, the fabric shimmering in the dim light of the old lamp. She instructed her daughters to prepare for her burial, a ritual that would offer her the strength to confront the spirit. They adored her with flowers and whispered prayers for her protection, hoping to shield her from the impending danger. With her heart pounding, Osu made her way to the sacred grove, where the spirit was said to descend on Holy Market night. The familiar path felt different, as if the ground was aware of the gravity of the moment. The air grew cooler, and she felt the presence of the spirit drawing closer. As she arrived at the designated spot, she took a deep breath, steadied herself, and blindfolded her eyes. Following the ancient customs that dictated the ritual, the world around her faded into darkness. Her heart racing in anticipation, she could sense the shift in the air. The spirit was near. "Who summons me?" A voice echoed through the groove, deep and commanding. "It is I, Osu," she responded, her voice trembling but resolute. "I seek answers and truths about my life and my son's fate." "Then prepare yourself," the voice replied. "You must face what lies before you." As the spirit drew closer, Osu felt a familiar presence. Her heart raced with a mix of fear and recognition, an unsettling familiarity that tugged at her memory. It was then, in a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, that she felt the blindfold slip slightly allowed a glimpse of the figure standing before her. When she finally tore off the blindfold, her heart sank into an abyss of desolation. The figure before her was not a spirit, but Ezemo Arono, the chief priest of Owedo, draped in regalia of his office, a mask covering his features. A realization struck her like lightning. She had been sleeping with a man, not a priest. Why, Ezemo? Wanyosu's voice cracked, a mixture of betrayal and sorrow flooding her heart. You have been the architect of my family's suffering. You have fathered my children, and now you would sacrifice my only son. The chief priest removed his mask, revealing a face that was both familiar and haunting. His eyes, once filled with authority and power, now mirrored the confusion and fear that gripped her heart. Wanyosu, it is not what you think, he began, his voice faltering. Not what I think, she interrupted, her emotions boiling over. You have deceived me all these years. You have perpetuated this cycle of suffering, labeling us as Osu, branding us as outcasts, all this while using the guise of tradition to hide your sins. Ezemo's expression hardened. This is our way. The sacrifices, the traditions, they bind our village, they keep us in the favor of the gods. And at what cost? Wanyosu retorted, her voice rising with each word. You have sacrificed our dignity, our lives, our future. My son does not deserve this fate. He is innocent, a victim of your twisted traditions. An intense silence enveloped the group, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Ezemo looked away, guilt calling across his face for the briefest moment before it was replaced by defiance. You cannot change the way of our people, Wanyosu. They will not accept it. Tradition is sacred. Sacred? Wanyosu echoed bitterly. Tradition is a shackle, a chain that binds us to suffering. I will not allow you to continue this charade, nor will I let you take my son. With a newfound strength surging through her, Wanyosu stepped forward, her voice ringing with clarity and conviction. I will expose your lies. I will reveal the truth to Owedo, and will break free from this curse of tradition. Ezemo's expression shifted, anger flashing in his eyes. You dare challenge me? You will bring ruin upon us all. But Wanyosu stood firm, no longer the frightened woman who had once accepted her fate. I am not afraid of you, Ezemo. You have hidden behind your masks for too long. The people deserve to know the truth, to know that their sacrifice was built on lies. With those words, Wanyosu turned and fled the grove. Her heart racing, the weight of her revelation propelled her forward, the urgency to save Osua consuming her. As she raced back to her village, she felt the wind at her back, whispering promises of hope and redemption. The night of revelation had unveiled the truth, igniting a fierce determination within her to reclaim their lives from the grip of tradition and seek a brighter future for her son. As dawn broke over Owedo, the village was alive with anticipation. The air popped with energy as villagers gathered in the square, preparing for the long-anticipated sacrifice that would cleanse their community of its sins. Elders, adorned in traditional garments, spoke in hushed tones, while children darted about, their laughter mingling with the serious undertones of the gatherings. The medicine man, Okochua from Ajimbo, had gone with Osu that night, and when the matter became serious, he acted. As Osu fled, he appeared, pinned Ezenmo Awono to the ground. Unknown to the villagers, a profound deception had unfolded. The chief priest, Ezenmo Awono, has been captured by Okochua. The medicine man had skillfully dressed the chief priest to look like Osuwa. As the villagers assembled, their minds filled with the belief that they were witnessing a sacred ritual. The chief acolyte revealed in the anticipation he would stand in for the chief priest, who was not feeling too well to attend the event. Little did they know that the true Osuwa had been spirited away by the medicine man Okochua from Ajimbo, the wise medicine man who had once offered Osu hope for her son. In the depth of the forest, Okochua had been waiting for the right moment. When Osu revealed the truth about the chief priest's treachery, he had sprung into action, determined to protect Osuwa from the fate that had been thrusted upon him. Come, Osuwa, Okochua urged, his voice a calm anchor in the storm of uncertainty. You are safe now. We must move quickly. Osuwa, still reeling from the revelation of his mother's encounter with the chief priest, felt a mixture of relief and confusion. But what about my mother? She will be in danger. Okochua placed a reassuring hand on Osuwa's shoulder. Your mother has set the wheels of change in motion. Trust that she will be alright. Our priority is to ensure you live to see a new dawn. As they made their way deeper into the forest, the sounds of the village faded behind them, replaced by the concerto of rustling leaves and distant bird song. Osuwa's heart raced, not just from fear, but from an escalating hope, a hope that perhaps he could break free from the chains of tradition that had held him captive for so long. Back in the village, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense as the elders prepared for the ritual. The chief acolyte, now charged with overseeing the ceremony. As the villagers encircled the prepared grave, a sense of reverence filled the air. They began to chant ancient incantations, invoking the spirits to accept their offerings. The plantain leaves lay piled high, covering what they believed to be Osuwa, but in reality, they were sealing the fate of the chief priest himself. Just as the first rays of sunlight pierced the horizon, illuminating the scene with a golden glow, Osu burst into the gathering, her presence commanding attention. Stop, she cried, her voice echoing with the strength of a mother's love. What you do here is built on lies. The man you are about to sacrifice is not my son. Whistles rippled through the crowd as they turned to face her. Moments of disbelief mixed with curiosity. The elders exchanged bewildered glances, struggling to comprehend the gravity of her words. Ezenmo Awono is a fraud, Osu shouted, her voice fierce. He has deceived you all. He has betrayed the very people he swore to protect. And he is the one who should pay for the sins of our village. But the villagers were now questioning everything that they had believed. With unwavering determination, Osu continued, the real Osuwa is safe. He is no longer bound by the shackles of your cruel traditions. Your sacrifices have done nothing but perpetuate suffering. Before the villagers could respond, Okochua emerged from the forest, leading Osuwa back to the clearing. The sight of him sent shock waves through the crowd, disbelief engraved on every face. Osuwa, they cried in unison, realization drawing upon them. They had gathered to condemn an innocent man, while the true orchestrator of their suffering stood before them, unmasked and exposed. In a final act of justice, the villagers turned their wrath toward the chief priest. "You will pay for your deception," they shouted, advancing upon him. Realizing the tide that had turned against him, Ezemo attempted to flee, but it was too late. The villagers seized him, dragging him toward the grave prepared for Osuwa. In an ironic twist of fate, the chief priest was laid inside a pit, his sins buried beneath layers of plantain leaves, symbolic of the burden he had placed upon the village for too long. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a warm light upon the chaos, while Yosu took her son's hand, her heart swelling with pride and relief. "You are free now, my son. We will forge a new path for our family and our people." Osuwa looked around, the weight of his predetermined fate lifting from his shoulders. "What will become of us?" he asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. "We will reshape Orodo," Yosu replied, her eyes sparkling with hope. "We will dismantle the tradition that binds us and create a future where every life is valued, where love triumphs over fear." With that, the villagers began to gather, the atmosphere shifting from one of fear to one of unity. Together, they would heal the wounds of the past and lay the foundation for a brighter future. One where burdens of tradition no longer weigh down the innocent, and love would be free to flourish. With the chains of tradition shattered, Osuwa and Erinma embraced their newfound freedom in Ajimbo. Nested in the lush greenery, the couple established a home where love thrived, unmarred by the burdens of the past. Their days were filled with laughter and dreams, such moments a testament to their defiance against the oppressive customs of Owedo. As they tilled the land together, planting seeds of hope, Osuwa often marveled at the beauty of his new life. He no longer felt like a sacrificial lamb, but rather a man with a purpose. Erinma's spirit was infectious. Her laughter danced through the air like a melody, chasing away the shadows of despair that had long loomed over his heart. "We will create a village of our own, Osuwa," Erinma said, one evening as they sat by the riverbank, watching the sun deep below the horizon. "A place where love conquers all, where no one is bound by the shackles of tradition." "I dream of that too," he replied, his voice filled with determination. "But will the people of Owedo accept it? Will they let go of their old ways?" One day, a group of villagers, led by the chief acolyte, who had once stood in for the chief priest, ventured into Ajimbo. They sought to confront Osuwa, torn between the traditions they had always known and the possibility of a new way of life that threatened to unravel their world. "We must put an end to this," the chief acolyte declared, rallying the villagers as they approached Osuwa's home. "He cannot continue to live without the consequences of his defiance. It will bring misfortune upon us." But as they reached the edge of Ajimbo, they were met not with hostility, but with a vision of community that astonished them. Osuwa and Erinma had been working not just for themselves, but had started to invite other outcasts and those who had been marginalized in Owedo to join them, creating a new collective that thrived on inclusivity and love. Upon seeing the harmony in the community Osu had built, the villagers hesitated. They witnessed families working together, sharing laughter, and finding solace in one another, completely detached from the fears that had bound them for generations. Osu stepped forward, heart grounded yet resolute. "What brings you here?" he asked, his voice steady. "Have you come to drag me back to the life of sacrifice and suffering?" The chief acolyte, taken aback by the strength of Osu's presence, he stated, "We were told you had returned." He stammered, uncertainty creeping into his voice, "That you defy our traditions. We believe you would bring disaster upon us." Erima stepped beside Osuwa, her hand resting gently on his arm. "Disaster has already been upon you," she said, her tone firm but compassionate. "It is the weight of outdated traditions that has crushed your spirit, not our love. We offer a different path, one built on understanding and acceptance." As the words dangled in the air, the villagers exchanged glances, their hearts wrestling with the familiar teachings they had grown up with and the undeniable truth of their lives unfolding before them. Could they truly break free from the chains that had held them for so long? Seeing the spark of hope in their eyes, Osuwa took a deep breath. "Join us, and we can create something beautiful together. Owedo and Ajimbo can thrive side by side if we allow love to guide us instead of fear. The sins of the past do not have to dictate our future." The chief acolyte, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, felt the weight of his own decisions pressing down on him. "But what will the elders say?" he asked, a hint of desperation in his voice. "They will not accept it. Perhaps it is time for a new generation to rise," Erima suggested, her voice filled with conviction. "Change begins with us. We can create a new legacy, one that honors love, compassion, and unity." Gradually, the villagers began to nod in agreement. The fears that had long governed their lives started to fade, replaced by the glimmer of possibility. The chief acolyte, feeling the shifting tide, realized that the strength of their community was not in the traditions that bound them, but in the relationship that nurtured. Maybe we can find a way to bridge our worlds," he said quietly, his heart softening. In that moment, a new dawn broke over Ajimbo and Owedo. Osuwa and the Erima and the villagers stood together, united by the belief that love could conquer all and that they could write a new narrative for their lives, one free from the burdens of the past. This is the story of Echoes of Freedom, the Osu Virgin Man.